prepare to have your perspective entirely shifted. Seriously, if you think you know the classic underworld rulers, the ancient architects of chaos, you've probably never heard of the absolute darkest deity in mythology. Today, in this explainer, we're unpacking the ancient, sprawling, and frankly terrifying lore of Erlik Khan. He's the Turkic Lord of the Dead. And let me tell you, this is a journey that's going to take us from the highest heavens all the way down to the deepest, darkest layers of the earth. Let's get right into it. Listen to this. Before Satan, before Hades, there was Erlik, the first being ever created, the one who tried to steal God's throne. Pretty intense, right? By framing this 8th century Turkic mythology with touchstones we already recognize, it really reveals the epic, ancient stakes of this story. We're talking about a narrative of cosmic rebellion that is incredibly old, deeply entrenched in the cultures of the Eurasian steppe, and it carries a tension that absolutely rivals any epic in Greek or Abrahamic traditions. And his punishment for this ultimate betrayal? Spending eternity ruling over the dead from a terrifying iron palace. To really understand this guy, we kind of have to look at the linguistics. The name Erlik comes from the older Turkic word erklik, which translates to the powerful one or the strong. But well, it goes way deeper than that. The root or yer literally means earth. So from his very name, he's intrinsically tied to the ground beneath our feet, the absolute depths of the soil. And what makes this absolutely fascinating is that Erlik is actually mentioned in the Orkhon inscriptions. Those are the oldest known Turkic writings, dating back to the 8th century, meaning his incredible fallen angel narrative was being told out on the steppe centuries before the widespread influence of Islam or Christianity hit the region. He is a purely indigenous architect of the underworld. So the classic legend of Erlik starts with this massive cosmic fall. He was actually the very first being ever created by Khan, the supreme creator and sky god. But Erlik, well, he wasn't exactly satisfied just being a creation. He was immensely proud, and while he was still up in heaven, he went ahead and created his own spirits, essentially claiming divinity for himself. He wanted to be a total equal to the supreme god. And for this ultimate act of defiance, he was hurled straight out of the heavens, tumbling down to the earth along with all his dark spirits. Think of it as Turkic mythology's original sin, but instead of a mortal eating forbidden fruit, it's a primordial spirit's sheer pride clashing with the sky itself. But you know how mythology works, right? It's rarely just one single thread. There's another, much more tragic, alternative legend. In this version, Erlik isn't a powerful sky spirit at all. Nope, he's the very first human being. The story goes that the supreme god sent this first human down to the primordial sea to retrieve some soil so he could build the earth. But this human was super ambitious. He hid a little bit of that primordial soil right inside his mouth, secretly hoping to build his own private world later on. The catch? Primordial soil grows. It literally expanded in his mouth until he was forced to spit it out in absolute agony. For this disobedience, God cast him out of heaven, named him Erlik, and made him the Lord of Death. It's just a fascinating look at how human ambition translates into this massive cosmic punishment. So where exactly was he banished? Well, the answer lies in the number 9. Erlik wasn't just cast to the surface. He was hurled down, through the dirt, through the solid bedrock, all the way down to the 9th layer of the earth. This is the deepest, darkest possible realm in Turkic mythology, a terrifying cosmic prison known as Tamaga. Just imagine it, descending past the roots of the oldest trees, way past the deepest caves, into a realm completely detached from that bright, eternal blue sky above. And from this pitch-black prison, Erlik carved out his own terrifying domain. He rules from this massive palace made entirely of copper and iron, sitting on furniture made of pure gold. And his appearance? Oh, it's pure nightmare fuel. He's depicted as this well-built old man riding a black horse, wielding a massive black iron sword and a shield. But his face is what really gets you. He's said to have pitch-black eyes, dark eyebrows, and a hideous pig-like snout with tusks. To complete this whole dystopian vibe, he even created his own dark sun for the underworld. It's a sun that glows this deep, angry red, but gives off almost zero light. Now here is where the mythology takes a really wild, totally unexpected turn regarding the very concept of death itself. According to some Altai legends, people and animals were originally immortal. Nobody died. Sounds great, right? Well, it led to a massive crisis. Extreme overpopulation. The earth was literally so crowded that there was no room to even move. In the midst of all this chaos, a crow stepped forward and suggested that they actually summon death to solve the problem. So the people performed a summoning and called Erlik into existence to, well, thin the herd. That's right. In this myth, humans voluntarily invited the Lord of the Dead into the world out of sheer logistical necessity. Crazy, right? But bringing death into the world came with a pretty horrific side effect. Take a second and really ask yourself, if you knew the exact day you were going to die, how would you live? Because initially, right after Erlik was summoned, early humans knew exactly when their time was up, and it was agonizing. People lived in absolute paralyzing terror, literally counting down the days and hours until Erlik's forces would show up for them. It was so psychologically torturous that the supreme sky god Tengri mercifully intervened and hid their death dates from them forever. It was kind of a dark blessing, allowing humanity to actually live their lives without that constant shadow of a ticking clock. Speaking of living in the shadow of Erlik, let's take a look at how this mythology explained the natural world around them. The Dolgan people, who are a Siberian Turkic group, had this brilliantly creative explanation for something they kept finding in the permafrost. They believed that Erlik personally dragged massive woolly mammoths all the way down to the 9th layer of the earth to serve as his beasts of burden. But sometimes a mammoth would try to make a run for it and escape back up to the surface world. Erlik's punishment? The very second they broke the surface, they were frozen solid. And honestly, that is exactly how the Dolgans explained those perfectly preserved frozen mammoth carcasses they kept stumbling across in the Siberian ice. Erlik definitely didn't rule his frozen, fiery underground kingdom all by himself. He built up a terrifying family tree to help him project his power back up to the surface. He's got 9 sons, known as the Karalanlar, or the Dark Boys. These guys have specific, terrible domains. They are the literal bringers of chaos, disaster, discord, and plague to the human world above. And right alongside them are his 9 daughters, the Karkazlar, or Dark Girls. Their primary gig in the mythology is psychological warfare. They actively try to seduce, distract, and confuse any human shamans who are attempting to communicate with the benevolent sky gods, just to make sure those prayers never actually reach heaven. And dealing with Erlik's family required a very specific and highly dangerous type of spiritual specialist. Enter the black shamans, or Karakam. Now, unlike the white shamans who prayed to the bright sky, these individuals actually venerated Erlik. They were deeply feared within their own communities and honestly often frowned upon because they were directly negotiating with demonic spirits. If a terrible sickness struck a village, it was assumed Erlik had stolen a soul. The black shamans would have to perform these intense, super dark rituals to spiritually descend into that 9th layer of the earth, come face to face with Erlik, and try to negotiate or bargain to get that lost soul back. The thing is, you couldn't just ask Erlik nicely, you literally had to pay him off. And the leverage these shamans used was highly specific. While the sky gods received pure white animals, Erlik demanded the exact opposite. Sacrifices included dark, scraggy animals, or sometimes the absolute best pinto horses just to persuade him to let a captured soul go. They'd also offer up dark beer, beef, and animal furs. And here's the truly terrifying part. People didn't just sacrifice to cure sickness. Some folks offered these dark tributes to secure a better rank or position in Erlik's underworld army after they died. They were essentially hedging their bets for the afterlife. If we zoom out and take a macro view of the cosmos here, a really profound dualism starts to emerge. On one side, you have Cook Tengri, the eternal sky god representing the upper world, light and order. And directly opposing him, acting as the necessary counterweight, is Erlik Khan. He represents the 9th layer of the earth, darkness, chaos, and death. It's a beautiful, profound dualism. Erlik isn't just some rogue villain running amok. He is the structural shadow to Tengri's light. The universe, at least in this ancient view, absolutely requires both to function properly. This dynamic is actually cemented in an incredibly powerful ancient text recorded back in 1903. Picture this. It's God speaking directly to Erlik right after his fall. Just listen to the absolute gravity of this decree. The people who hide their sins from me will be your public. The people who hide their sins from you will be my public. Wow. This is the ultimate cosmic contract. It establishes a hard, undeniable boundary. Erlik gets dominion, sure, but only over a very specific group of people. He's granted the sinners, the wicked, the folks who operate in the dark. Tengri, meanwhile, claims the pure. So the crucial takeaway here is this massive twist. Erlik is not purely evil in the way we might conventionally think of a devil figure. He's actually acting as necessary cosmic justice. When a person dies in Turkic mythology, this absolutely fascinating struggle kicks off. Two spirits literally race to claim the newly departed soul, one spirit racing down from heaven and one racing up from Erlik's underworld. And it's the person's actions in life that determine who wins that race. Erlik is legally bound by that cosmic contract we just talked about. He can only claim the souls of the wicked, dragging them down to his iron palace, while the good souls naturally ascend up into the eternal sky. Despite being centuries old, the sheer cool factor of Erlik's mythology has allowed his name to survive right into the modern era, in some pretty incredible, unexpected ways. For instance, paleontologists discovered this formidable theropod dinosaur in Mongolia and decided the Lord of the Dead was the perfect namesake. They officially named it Erlikosaurus, which literally means Erlik's lizard. And if that wasn't wild enough, Erlik Khan actually exists in the Marvel Comics universe. Yeah, he was adapted as this multi-armed demonic entity who threw down in an epic battle against Doctor Strange. It really just goes to show a truly terrifying myth never really dies. It just gets a modern reboot. Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to chew on. If Erlik Khan is truly the necessary shadow to Tingri's light, a terrifying but ultimately legally bound judge of the wicked, can any universe actually exist without a ruler of the dark? The sky gives life, and the earth eventually has to take it back. That is the ultimate balance of this brilliant 8th century Turkic mythology. I really hope this explainer sparked your curiosity about the darker corners of world lore, and as they still whisper out on the steppe to maintain that cosmic balance, may Tengri protect and may Erlik not take. Thanks for exploring this with me today.